In this video, we're gonna take a deeper look at why Kitty Softpaws believed she could never compete with Puss in Boots' biggest love, which is Puss himself.
Well, I knew I could never compete with your one true love.
Who?
Yourself, the legend.
She truly loves him, and he does love her too, but from her point of view, his entire history made it feel impossible. Puss has always been known for his ego, his arrogance, and especially his fear of commitment. So for Kitty, it wasn't that she doubted her own feelings, it's that she felt she could never win against the one thing Puss cared about most, his own image, his independence, and the legend of Puss in Boots. At the end of the first film, it honestly looked like everything between them was going to end well. Their chemistry was strong, they clearly cared about each other, and it gave the impression that their relationship had a happy future. But The Last Wish shows us that things didn't turn out that way. The real breaking point was the Santa Coloma incident, the moment that changed everything. That was when Puss failed to show up at their wedding. He later admits that he abandoned Kitty at the altar because he was terrified, not because he didn't love her, but because he was afraid of losing his freedom, his adventurous lifestyle, and the self-centered heroic identity he had always relied on.
You left her at the altar?
It was wrong, I know. I am ashamed. I just wish I hadn't hurt her so badly. I regret that day.
Puss was incredibly proud of who he was, almost to the extreme. He believed that being with Kitty and allowing himself to be vulnerable would somehow make him weak. He thought a committed relationship would soften him or even take away the heroic persona he had spent years building. For Kitty, Puss not showing up at their wedding wasn't just a mistake, it confirmed her biggest fear. It showed her that Puss cared more about his own legendary image, his independence, and his bragging rights than he cared about her or the life they were supposed to build together. In her eyes, she wasn't competing with another person, she was competing with the idea of Puss in Boots, this larger-than-life legend, this heroic image he worshipped, something so big that it consumed him and left almost no room for anyone else. She already struggled with trusting people because of her painful past. She had been betrayed, declawed, and left to fend for herself, and those experiences left deep emotional scars. She grew up believing she couldn't rely on anyone, but slowly, she started to let her guard down with Puss. She was finally beginning to trust again, thinking he was different, and then being left at the altar shattered all of that progress. His abandonment didn't just hurt her feelings, it reinforced the belief she had carried for years that she couldn't depend on anyone, especially someone who was so obsessed with his own fame and reputation. This is why Kitty wanted to find the wishing star in The Last Wish. Her deepest wish wasn't money, power, or glory, it was to find someone she could truly trust.
You wanna know what my wish was? Someone, anyone I could trust.
Hey!
In my whole life, I've never had that. But I thought I finally found that someone, without a wish. I thought it was you. But you're still running. Still the same old Puss in Boots.
That was the point she had reached emotionally, someone who felt completely alone, someone who believed every bond would eventually break, and someone who was deeply affected by how badly things had gone with Puss. What happened between them didn't just break her heart, it messed with her sense of safety, stability, and hope for the future. But the thing is, Puss actually learns from his mistakes. His entire journey in The Last Wish is pushed forward by one big fear, the fear of death, and that fear finally forces him to face himself honestly. Throughout the movie, he has no choice but to confront his ego, the reckless way he lived, and the consequences of always putting his legend above everything else. And through that journey, he ends up learning something incredibly important, the real value of life, the importance of love, and how true commitment isn't a trap, it's a kind of freedom. He realizes that living a meaningful life is better than living a long, empty one. It becomes a lesson about choosing quality over quantity, and choosing real connections over pride. Even after everything that happened between them, Kitty forgives him. By the end, they manage to rebuild their relationship, stronger, healthier, and more honest than it ever was before, and that's because Puss truly changes.
I hate to say it, but should we make a wish?
Kitty, one life spent with you is all that I could wish for.
He's not the same cat from the beginning of the story who was obsessed with his own legend. Now he genuinely cares about the people around him. He's more grounded, more thoughtful, and he finally lets go of that hero persona that he always put above everything, even above the ones he loved. This new version of Puss isn't driven by ego anymore. He's driven by love, loyalty, and the desire to live a life that actually matters. And that's why in the end, he and Kitty are able to reconnect in a deeper and much stronger way.